Hello guys, today in this video I will be showing you how to create a small scale PHP framework, and in this first video we will be covering a larger part of it, which will be the base index file and the routes, how these routes and these things work. And we will obviously cover a little bit part of controllers as well, partially I would say. And then there is this core component files. Let me put it here. This is core, and core will be actually will be some helpers, some other classes which we will be using throughout, which obviously supporting this system overall in controller and everywhere, but we will be not discussing this in depth, rather than partially as well. And the main file we are gonna create today partially is called the helper, right? So this will also be partially covered, the helper, which is part of core, and it will be helping us in the controller right now, not in controller in this video tutorial, but it will be helping the index or the route through the index, right? Show you how to create your own PHP small framework, which you can create quickly, and you can manage your website inside it rather than to use a full-fledged framework. It's not mandatory that it is a requirement for each and every new project, but it comes handy in some situations. So let's get started. Let me create a new folder for our project. I will call it my framework. Right, let's go inside it, and I'm going to create a new index.php file where our framework will bootstrap or start the first initial file. All right, so now I have set the valid framework in the backend services, and what that do is it creates the localhost initial domain, virtual domain, to test it out real quick. So I will say my framework test. So this is our website initially starting. I can real quickly open up the project. This is my framework, and let me show you. All right, so my framework, this is the project which has an index.php. It's an empty file. So let's start. If I echo here hello world, it should be printed on my screen, hello world. All right, great. So it's kind of working. Now we're gonna have to start developing it one by one through all the concepts. I will go through each concept. Remember guys, this is a small framework for a quick project creation. It's lightweight. You can create it one time and reuse it every time for your new small projects. Obviously it would be better than core PHP. So for the first step, I will be going through the initial index file, and that index file will do the routing for us, right? Okay, so let's get started. So in index file, we're gonna need a helper, some sort of helper which will help us actually to do certain tasks easily. So let's create that helper, and all the files I'm creating from now on are our system core files, kind of the framework files itself. So I'm gonna create a folder like core to put every framework related file inside it. So let's call it helper.php. It's a simple helper class which will have some helping methods for real quick use. All right, so what I'm gonna need is there's an method in PHP to include files to make it. I'm just gonna use my own function to do so, which will obviously a bit easier than core PHP. So I will call it function import whatever file I want to import it, and you have to kind of type in the name of the file which you want to import, right? All right. So then first of all, the path of the file could be inside any directory, or it could be a direct file. So we're gonna have to handle this condition. So I will first say is array if you want to include multiple files, right? So it could be an array, the multiple file you want to include, or it could be a single file as well, right? And in else condition, it would be a case of single file, which we'll handle real quick. So now this str replace, I'm replacing some text inside the name, which is like wherever it is a dot, it should be converted into the /. But this means that you don't need to put the // in the name, rather than you just put a dot, just like Laravel follows this kind of convention. So all right, so I will put a name here, so it will replace the dot with the slashes, and if they are already /, then it's good to go. So I will simply do the include once, the PHP built-in method, and I will use the dir, which is the core directory right now. So I will go one step back from this current directory, and on the root directory I will include this. Now name will already contain, the name variable will already contain a directory or file name, whatever you want to include. So the path will be there already, right? So let's do that. This was a simple case. Now if there is an array, I mean multiple inclusions, so we'll simply apply for each loop, and then name as inc, mean include file. So I kind of follow the same process up there as well. It was just a multiple files, right? So this is our import function, which we can use, and it comes handy because we are going to use it to import any required files from index, right? Okay, so now second thing, what I was telling you, let me import this. This is the first file which needs to be included anyway. So core/helper.php, so right? So start from here. So now what this video is about is how to create routes. So route is the first thing you're going to define for your system, right? And every magic will happen. All right, so for routing, let's create in core component folder, the core folder, let's create another folder called http. And in http, let's put a file called route.php, right? This is our route class, which will handle all the route related stuff. All right, so let's get started. Let's call it class route, right? I'm sorry. Okay. Now we create, first of all, we create some variable where we can store the routes, right? So let's call it private static. By the way, this class will be static as we have to use statically everywhere, wherever it is required. And our first method will be, let's suppose, a get route, right? So public static method, create a function called get, and you have to give the name of the route and the resolve variable. Resolve variable actually defines what controller you want to call it. So there will be a concept of controller here as well. Either you can call it method directly, which we will not be handling in this tutorial, but you could be able to call the controller directly. Well, right now, if somebody called this method get, we just need to do is to simply store this route inside our array, right? So self routes, let's add a route which will be, the data will be the name, which is given above, of course, and resolve, which will be given above in a param, and its type will be get, right? Perfect. So we got the get. I will be covering the get and post, two kind of routes. Let's change it to the post. I'm sorry, yeah, post. And let's just type it to a post. Basically that is it. Other than that, now we have the main logic to run the route. So let me real quickly finish this route class. We are not covering fully right now. So once we run this, and let's put a default empty parameter. And now this default empty parameter do is it's kind of defining the default page for redirections, right? So let's include, let's just not include anything else, and let's get started. So if you given some default route while running this run method from your index, it will always open that route. Make sense? For example, if you given in default home text, so it will always go to here and put redirect to the home, right? Something like that, or index.php $page equal home, something like that, right? So that the system will do automatically because it has a default route set to home, always to start with this route if no other route has been provided, right? So we will leave it empty, right? If somebody provide this parameter, it will be filled, otherwise it will be empty. So let's just place a check. If there is no page get request, just like I put it there, for example, index then page equal ABC. If this get parameter is set, then obviously we're gonna have to redirect to that page. Make sense? If it isn't set, then we will have to kind of look for default, and if default is not set as well, what happens? I'm sorry, default is set, it's not empty, somebody has set to something, then we just simply gonna redirect to default. Now redirect is no method of PHP, so we're gonna just initialize it into the helper real quick. So let's see, function redirect, and let's say page, and you can pass other parameters as well as an optional thing. So for example, param string, let's create a variable param string to parse out these parameters. If count of this other variable is greater than 0, then of course there are some other parameters involved, and that's for each of them, right? Other as key value, simple key value, and just make the param string out of it, and it will be something like that, ampersand sign, then there is key, I'm sorry about that, then there is a key, and then there is an equal sign, and then there is this value. So parameter string will be created something like that, and then we will call a PHP method header to redirect it to a certain location. I hope you can see my screen. So space, then index.php will be our initial file, right? The page will be equal to the page you have sent above in the parameter, or if there are any further parameter string, that will be concatenated as well. So this is our redirect, right? Let's get back to the route. And in route, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if the page is set, right? If is set the page itself. So if the page is set, then we're gonna redirect to that page accordingly. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna loop over all the routes we have so far. So like self.routes as route, right? And now we're gonna match the page name and the method type, right? And if that is matched, then we're gonna resume it. So for now, let me quickly make this window a little bigger so you can see properly. All right, so let's say get request page equal route, whatever the route we have stored so far has this name found, which is on the page right now. Then and also we check the server request type, right? And that is request method equal the route we stored with the type. Once that is matched, now we can resolve. So resolves will be actually based on the controller. I'm actually following the Laravel conventions. There will be @ sign which will be used to explode the routes, the resolve string. I will show you in a moment. For example, the route will be something like this: controller name @method name. This is the resolve name. So it will go to this controller file and then invoke its method name, whatever the method is. To be able to find these two strings, we're gonna have to explode them based on this character, right? So let's go next line. Let's just find out the controller name. So controller name will be is equal to resolves 0, the first thing, this one, right? And then the method name will be the second one. So this will be the method name, which is the second parameter. And after that, we're gonna see what the class file path will be actually. So from this directory, let's start we are going 2 step back because we are in HTTP. So we will go back to HTTP to core to the main, right? So let's say this 2 step back, and then controllers, whatever the folder you call for the controllers, right? And then controller name, and then .php, right? So we don't have a controller folder here, so let's create one, controllers, right? And we would likely to create a controller there as well. So okay, so now I will say include once in this class file, right? And then I will say class is equal to new controller name. This is we create an instance of the class, and then we just echo out the method return statement here, class.method name, right? I'm sorry, this variable method name we created above, and just invoke it and exit it out here. This is simple stuff so far. So let's see how we're gonna create the controller. Let's just create simple controller like home controller. This is my base controller, right? So just start real quick here, just to show you guys home controller. This is my class, and it has index method, right? And that index method returns hello from controller method, right? Simple as that. Now everything is set. Now we have to initiate those routes real quick, and for that purpose we kind of have to make the routes as well. So let's create a new file on the root directory, routes.php, right? And this file will actually contain your routes. So let's put a sample route here, route.get home, and it goes to home controller@index. Remember I told you the method convention. This will be the control class file, and this will be the method it will invoke once the route page is home, right? So let's go to the index. Now we're gonna actually try to run this. So for running this, I'm gonna import the route, right? So import, remember I made this helper function inside the core folder, then HTTP folder, and then route. See how easy it is to just import something? And then we're gonna import the routes file as well, which is this route file we just created, right? So we have the route class file, and we have that. If we have the route class file, then we will be able to, we will be able to use this class, you know, the route. And then we include this, and it already has this route we just created, and then now it's time to run the route. So just run it. And by default, remember if you do it like that, it will not do anything. So if we run it without any parameter, it will show nothing, you know, or refresh, it shows nothing. So we need to define a base route, which will be home, that always start with the home. If we refresh now, you see, it automatically goes to that home page. Hello from controller method. Right? So this text comes in, and what I wanted to show you real quick as well, if you create another method, public function contact, and return contact as page. We will later in tutorial we will also see how to return a view rather than just a string of text. So once we did that, all we need to do is to now create a route for that, and let's tell him to go to the same controller class file and run that contact method, right? So refresh. Okay, so if you type in the contact, it will go to the contact page. If you type in the home page, it will go to the home page, right? Real quick, fast and steady. Alright guys, that is it for this tutorial for the routes for your own PHP small scale framework. I will see you in the next video. Thanks.